little bit about transition blocks when it comes to making your program for your strength journey and your fitness journey for that matter. When it comes to programming, there's if you research, you'll find a myriad amount of information on how to program, how to kind of go about your training. They call it a transition block. Certain people call it pivot blocks. And basically you train you train for 3-6 weeks nonstop. That's a very wide range. I'm just going to use on average about 4 weeks. So you're going to train for about 4 weeks. You're going to repeat the same exercises week by week, same RPE amount and same exercises week by week. And then the last week after the 4th week of that block, you'll have what's called some people would call it a deload, some people would call it a transition block, other people would call it a pivot block. But this block, there's a lot of different benefits to it. So it's really good for resensitizing your training so that you can keep making progress, because there's only so much your body can take before you stall and before you stop seeing progress. So that's where a transition block or a pivot block or a deload, I wouldn't even classify as a deload, but for the lack of a better word, we're going to use the word deload. This is where this can come in. The purpose of this week where you're transitioning into a new block is to allow you to, again, resensitize yourself to your training, allow you to take a break from your training, and to not push the loads as much as you would those 4 weeks. So you might do things such as more reps, less weight, but the tricky part is that you don't want to do such low weight that your transition block or your next development block suffers because you lost strength, because you took too much time away from working in the loads that you should be working to maintain your strength. So it's a very finesse type of block transition in which you want to play around with. There's really no way to figure out what you're going to be responding best to until you actually experiment with your own body and see what works for you. So let's say, for example, you're training for 4 weeks, 5 weeks. You do the same exercises for those 4 or 5 weeks. You squat on Monday, you bench on Tuesday, you deadlift on Tuesday, you rest on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. You do some sort of assistance exercise that helps your main movements. I'm just using strength as the analogy. This technically can apply to endurance sports too. It also can apply to the sports world, like sports strongmen, strong women world. This can apply to bodybuilding. It's just a concept, an idea that can really carry over to any niche, if you will. So let's say you do that. You train on Monday, Tuesday, rest Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday you train. The 5th or 6th week, which is your transition week, you're going to do, let's say on Monday, do the safety squat bar, or maybe you'll do some goblet squats, maybe you'll do some more hip thrusts, but your reps are going to be a little higher. You may work on a little bit more conditioning. You may do one top set of your actual squat at a really heavy load for 3 reps. So you might do 3 reps for what's called an 8 RPE, rate of perceived exertion. So at an 8 RPE, meaning you're about 2 reps shy from being taxed, right? So it's a pretty heavy load that you're doing for 3 reps. Let's say you do that on Monday. Then that's the most you'll tap your system. You're not going to do any down sets or anything, because again, you don't want to tax your body. This week is for resensitizing or kind of de-stressing from those weeks that you were training. So that's Monday. Maybe you'll do some closed grip bench press instead of your regular bench press, or maybe you'll do a top set of a bench press, 1 set for only 3 to 5 reps, and then you do down sets as closed grip bench press, or maybe some Larson bench press, or maybe some closed grip Larson bench press, or maybe some overhead presses for reps. So you might do sets of, maybe you time yourself for every minute on the minute for 15 reps or what have you. So really this whole week, if you will, their transition week, your pivot week, is to help you adapt more, help you sustain over the long term. Because this may help you maintain your strength versus if you just take a break and don't train your body, if you will. So that's a little bit on transition blocks, pivot blocks, deload. There's a lot of benefits to it. Your body can only take so much before you tap out, so to speak. You're gassed. So I hope that was useful. Remember to be smart and to be mindful of your training, your exercises, your fitness. I made a video talking, I think, about how there's specifically women that just kind of train, and they don't really get anywhere because they're running themselves to the ground, literally. So you don't want to do that. You want to be smartical, and you want to listen to your body when you need to. Obviously, don't go hard for a week and then take like 2 weeks off. You will never see progress that way. You have to train consistently, see what you adapt to. If you adapt to high loads, low reps, maybe you adapt to moderate loads and moderate reps. It's really case by case. There's really no right way until you figure out what you best respond to. Generally, I would say it's safe to assume that maybe about 4 weeks, after about the 4th week of pushing it really hard, at the 5th week mark, you're gonna start feeling a little run down, and you're gonna may want to consider a transition transition block. Okay, these are blocks. So 4 weeks would be one block, 1 week would be the transition block, then the next block will be another development block for the next 4 weeks, and then a transition block for 1 week, another development block for 4 weeks, and so on and so forth throughout a year. And of course, this isn't one set stone. You can moderate or edit it, if you will, depending on your goals. Okay, so that's a little bit about the transition block, and I hope that was useful. Remember to subscribe to the best YouTube channel ever, and check out my articles below, and I'll see you in the next video.